If you want to participate, contact me at ordinarywomenpodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure you have great projects to brag about. You can also follow me and message me on Instagram at Ordinary Women Podcast, on Twitter at Ordinary Women PC, or on Facebook on the page Ordinary Women. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Ordinary Women. Hi Ashmi, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Lucy, for inviting me, and I'm super excited and super happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here today. Can you start by giving us a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Sure. So I'm Ashmi. I am currently pursuing my doctoral studies from Technical University of Munich with a focus on computer science. And if you would like to go into the deeper details of it, I'm focusing on recommender systems and human-computer interactions. It's okay if you don't understand, I can go into the details if you are interested. Otherwise, just some black box research in computer science. And I'm originally from India, but living, working, studying in Germany for the last 6 years. And so what else? So I also did my master's in computer science from Technical University of Munich, and then I was working here, and now I switched to academia again. And that's all like the professional side of me, like what I'm doing professionally. Other than that, I am very active in the Women in Tech network. So I'm also a Google Women Tech Makers ambassador, and I am really passionate about bridging the gender gap in STEM through a variety of voluntary activities with a lot of women in STEM networks. So yeah, that's something that I'm doing for my as a hobby, as a passion, and that's how we connected, I guess. And I guess that's a very high level introduction about me.
Thank you so much for this. That everything sounds so interesting. A bit frustrated that we have only like about 40 minutes to talk about everything, but can you tell us something unusual about yourself?
Something unusual. I don't know whether it's a feature or a bug, as the software engineers would say, but I find myself very determined. So whenever I have my eyes on something, I just want it. My family, my mom, for example, had a very hard time with me as a child because of that. Because if I would say that, oh, I want that T-shirt with a cat picture on it, I just want it. But then I see it as a feature. So because that has helped me accomplish whatever I have done so far. So that's why I would say that that is something unusual about me. So when I have my eyes on something, I try to like get it by hook or by crook. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so cool. What's the last thing that was your focus or like that you needed to have or do?
I mean, there are lots of ongoing processes that are like I have my eyes set on the end goal of those processes, but another one, it's like from maybe a couple of years ago, but I had my eyes set on getting a driving license in Germany. I have told this story many times also in public. So I have had my eyes set on getting a driving license in Germany because I wanted to drive on the Autobahn where you have no speed limits.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, but then coming from India and driving in Germany was a very, very difficult process, and they have like a million rules and regulations. So it took me 5 attempts and almost several hundred euros to pass. And okay, I did have some challenges as well. I didn't have a very good teacher, and I mean, a lot of other, like, I got really unlucky at different instances, but I never gave up. So that's something, I mean, I didn't really need the license, but I was like, okay, no, I want it. and I have invested so much time, effort, and money in it, and I will not give up until I get it. And so, yeah, I mean, I often tell the story as, kind of like never give up attitude and never like this deterministic thing. So, yeah.
That's so cool, and congrats on getting it. And yeah,
Oh,
it sounds
yeah.
like it was quite a journey, but so
Yeah.
glad that you had it.
Yes.
Since here, obviously, we talk a lot about what it's like to be a woman, I like to start by asking, was there a moment in your life when you realized that you are a woman?
Mm, biologically, when I got my first menstrual cycle. Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I never really had that kind of a thing. So even as a child, I was never treated by my parents. I was never treated differently because I'm a girl. Even though I'm the only child, and yeah, but I was never like, oh, you are a girl, so you can't do anything or something like that. They have always been very supportive, very nice about all my all the things that I've ever wanted to do. So that way, it has never really been like that. But often the society has questioned my abilities as a woman. Like I have come across a lot of people who have been like, well, you know what? You are taking up subjects which are very mathematically intensive. So I was like, okay, so what? But you're a woman. I mean, they didn't say it on my face, but I could sense that. Yeah, so why don't you like? You are a woman, you might not succeed in there. But then my thing was, okay, I am going to show them that I can succeed. And I did that. So I have always been, like that, okay, that person said that, oh, I can't do this. And I'm going to show that guy or that person, oh, I can totally do that, and you are wrong.
That's so like such a trash thing for them to say, but such a cool like way to react to that, I think. Glad that you have the energy to do that. That's really cool. And do you think that the lack of representation of women in society had an impact on you?
It did. So it's actually a funny story. So when it comes, I can only tell you about the tech area because that's where I belong. When I started my journey in tech, so after high school, I was pretty confused as what I should study. So I wanted to study math, I wanted to study chemistry, but basically I wanted to study everything other than computer science, which I ended up studying. So yeah, and I really wanted to, and I never really realized the lack of women in computer science. So I basically, there were a lot of people, they, in India, it's very common actually. So a lot of people, told me that, well, why don't you study computer science because it has a good future? And then since people can kind of make decisions on your behalf, and it's really common in India, they kind of, it was made, that decision was kind of made for me. And I did that. I do not regret it now. But I really wanted to study chemistry, as I said, so it didn't work out. So then I studied computer science, and yeah, so at that point, I realized that there were no, like, I had a lot of female classmates, so I never really realized the lack of women in tech until I moved to Germany. And when I moved to Germany, I realized that in a lot of classes, I was the only female. And it was very surprising for me because where did all the females go? And then I learned that there's a severe disparity in the numbers of males and females studying computer science. And I also came across a lot of this women in tech organizations which are working towards, towards ensuring the gender equality and all these things at the university. And I also made myself familiar with all these networks, and then I also became a part of some of these networks and tried to contribute there. So it was very unusual for me because coming from India, and there were so many women who were studying computer science. Like I had so many female classmates, and then moving to Germany and having so few of them, it was very, very unusual for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, do you know why that disparity between countries?
I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I do have my, like my hypothesis,
Hmm.
my set of hypotheses. So I feel like in India, as I said, that so if you would study mechanical engineering or chemical engineering or, these core engineering topics in India, you will also find very few females. So the females that actually studied science for high school, they are encouraged to take up safer engineering disciplines like computer science or information technology or electronics, because that doesn't involve you to go to the plants or the mechanical engineering outside these plants more often. And you can, the exact quote that I was told is that, oh, after you graduate as a computer scientist, you will at least have a fan over your head, unless, and if you're lucky, you might also have an aircon. And that's basically, I mean, that's a reference in India, because you have, like, it's very hot and tropical country, and you always need a fan. So yeah, like that's why I think that all the females who are interested in science, they end up studying computer science or information technology, because that's how they are kind of, like they are encouraged to do that. Whereas when you come here in Germany, I don't know about other countries, but at least in Germany, there's a lot more freedom in what you can choose. So as a child, you are encouraged to take up whatever, wherever your passion, or like encouraged to go wherever your passion lies. It could be art, it could be humanities, it could be history, it could be science. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that's probably the reason why the things are a bit diverse here. So you see a lot of people studying a lot of different things. I mean, I have come across people studying so many different things that I didn't even know that existed, you know? So
Yeah.
that is, I think, one of the reasons why you see this disparity here, but you don't see it that much in India or any of the developing nations.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing this. That makes complete sense. And did you grow up with any feminine role model?
Mm, I mean, I did have my mom to some extent. I mean, interestingly enough, she holds a degree in botany, a bachelor's degree in botany, but then she also took up computer science, like she did some diploma in computer science. So she was the one who introduced me to programming. And at that time, I mean, I never realized it as a child, but when I look back, and now I realize that she was one of the very, very few females. I mean, actually, even very, very few people who knew how to program and who knew programming languages like C, C++, and COBOL. Yeah, COBOL doesn't exist probably anymore. But yeah, and I never valued it as a child because I never understood it. But now when I look back, I'm like, that's cool, you know? And yeah, so I would say she was definitely one of the role models, which I never realized that she is a role model, but she was right there. And I mean, other than that, there are like, after I grew up, I came across a lot of role models as well. So, but then, yeah, if you talk about role models as a child, I would say it would be her.
Okay, great. And yeah, tell us about your current role models. Do you have any? Or like, yeah, now that you're a grown up, an adult.
Yes, I actually have a lot. So I'm really inspired by. So there are some people whom I don't know. I mean, they are like famous personalities who have done a lot in their respective fields. So, for example, Sheryl Sandberg, who is the COO of Facebook, and she wrote this whole book on Lean In, and she has done a lot about women in tech and women in workspace. So I really like her personality and her, the books and whatever she has done for the women in workspace. Besides that, I also have a few other role models. For example, Miss Sudha Murthy. She's a big philanthropist based in India, and also she's like she's the wife of Mr. Narayan Murthy, who is the founder of Infosys, the company. And incidentally, you may know this. They are also their son-in-law is the current PM of UK. So
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I really am inspired by her. I have attended a couple of her talks, and I really like it how she portrays this really, this calm and very soothing attitude, and then, okay, I have you covered, you're my child and I have you covered attitude. And she reminds me of my grandma a lot. I was very close to my grandma, and she reminds me of that, and she has done a lot for women, especially women in the not so developed regions of India. And so I am inspired by her. What else? Who else? I mean, these are the other people, and I do have some other inspirations, like colleagues, who definitely inspire me. So I think the list is endless.
That's so great. Yeah, and it's so great to like look for different things among different people and be inspired by all of them. What do you
Mhm.
think all these women taught you?
They taught me different things. For example, Sheryl Sandberg, from her writings or from her, the kind of interactions she has had with people, that was covered by media. I feel like this again, this never give up attitude comes out, and to stick to for your rights to sit at the table. That's what she always keeps iterating, that sit at the table, make your space there, and make yourself heard. And this is very, very important, I think. So if you're interrupted, just tell the people that, hey, I was interrupted, and point it out, and then keep continuing what you were saying, and like to have your voice, not to lose your voice. And that's something that's very important.
Yeah, definitely. That reminds me of something that I heard a while ago about how COVID had an impact on that because women were more likely to stay home, and then how do you keep that space if we're not physically there? And the woman who was saying that was really encouraging any women to go back to the office and be there to have that space and like kind of yeah joining what you were saying. But yeah, all of these seem like incredibly interesting women. But I would like to talk more about you now and a project or life achievement that you've done and that you're proud of. So, what do you want to talk about? Can you, yeah, tell us a bit about it and like present what it is?
I mean, if I go into my list of projects, I think that A, they will be too boring, and B, I think that, or technical, and B, I think that I haven't done so many cool things yet. There's still a lot to do. But one thing that I'm really proud of myself is this whole journey that I had from India to Germany. Um, I mean, not a lot of people know what I was going through when I was in India. There were a lot of challenges, logistical and family, and a lot of other things, private challenges, which I had to overcome when I got this opportunity to study at one of the most reputed universities of the world. And it wasn't easy, definitely. But then somehow it worked out. And I don't know how, I don't know why, but it just worked out. And I had never, for once in my life, lived outside um, or lived without my parents anywhere, or my grandparents, for that matter. I mean, the farthest away from home I have spent a night was my grandparents' place, 3 kilometers away from our home. And now this 22-year-old was moving across continents. So this was a huge thing, not only for me, but also, say, for my parents and grandparents, and how we are going to financially sponsor it and all these things, because it came with a lot of cost that way. But luckily, I mean, the people who have studied in Germany, they know that the German universities, they do not charge any tuition fees. So I always wanted to study abroad, but I knew that I won't be, or my family won't be able to finance it if it's in US or anywhere else, right? So I needed some affordable, but something that's imparting the equally good quality of education. And Germany seemed to be the one. But it came with another challenge. That's the language, right? So when I moved from India to Germany, I was, like, as I said, a 22-year-old who has never lived farther from like far from their parents and family. And then I moved there and I knew no one, and I didn't know what to do, how to do. I couldn't even cook. My mom tried very hard to teach me how to make rice and some other easy things, but then I was like, it would always result in a fight. So I just gave up because, yeah. And so that's why I had to start everything from here, from scratch here. And it wasn't easy balancing all these things and the super harsh winters. It was also my first time in living in sub-zero temperatures. And then came the language. There has been multiple occasions when I wanted to buy something, but then I misunderstood the writing on the package in German. And then I bought something else. And when I'm, say, cooking, then I realized, hey, but I wanted salt, but now I have sugar. I mean, these are very easy examples, but easy also to understand. But that didn't really happen. But I couldn't find a better example for that. But this happened multiple times, and then I started learning. I mean, I also did until A2 back in Kolkata before coming, but it was not enough at all. And people were always everything. I would get so many letters because Germany is really, like, notorious when it comes to all the letters and bureaucracy and paperwork. So I would get multiple letters asking me to pay for this, pay for that, because I didn't pay for the other thing and that thing. And there was no one who would translate those things for me, and Google Translate was so so. And yeah, like, it was such a complete mess. But then somehow, yeah, we have this radio tax and this tax and that tax and this and that. But then somehow it all worked out, and finding an accommodation and settling in and everything. And then, yeah, it worked out. And I am very happy because when I began 6 years ago, I had literally nothing with me. But now I have a place which I can call home, and I have some wonderful family or wonderful friends who have become like family. And I'm really glad that I have found comfort in these places or people.
That's amazing, and I'm so happy that now, yeah, you made that place home. That's so great to hear and so important. Do you ever consider going back to India?
I don't know. I mean, so the thing is that I am the only child, and I would like to keep that option open because you never know what happens. So, but then I also don't mind spending some time here. And I mean, ideally, I should have enough money to be flexible about where I would like to be.
Cool, amazing. And why did you move to Germany? So you say that it was for your degree. Did you like apply directly in Germany? Like how did that go?
So it was, as I said, that I wanted to study abroad, but I did not have like I knew that my parents would not be able to afford an education, say in US, with like millions of euros or millions of dollars. So uh, that's why we were looking for some affordable option which also imparts the equal or a similar quality of education. And then we came across Germany, and TU Munich is supposed to be ranked quite well in computer science. So that why not? I mean, I'll just apply. I never thought that I will get it. I had a huge list of all the universities, like a very, very long list of universities that I wanted to apply to in Germany. And I had applied to like seven or eight of them, and after which the so TU Munich was my dream university in Germany, and then the offer from TU Munich came, and I was like, okay, so I'm not applying to the rest of the list anymore, so I'm done. Yeah, so that's how it was Germany. And I mean, if you ask me how or who convinced me to like study abroad, then I would say that when I was doing my undergrad, I had been really fortunate to be mentored by some very very competent and wonderful professors. One of them was the head of the department, head of our department in computer science, and they really like mentored me so well and instilled this seed of, okay, you can, you should go abroad, or to expand your horizons, your perspectives, and you will learn a lot more if because there are a lot more opportunities than if you are stuck in somewhere in India. So they were the ones who opened my eyes, kind of. So I'm really, really thankful, grateful to them for showing me this path and guiding me, yeah, on this journey.
That's so cool. And so then did they help you to apply as well, or like to move to
Yes.
Germany and everything?
Yes. So, I mean, they helped me really narrow down the universities, and I would talk to them about the courses and stuff. So that kind of support I did get from them. Yeah.
Great. And once you arrived in Germany, how did you manage to either find support or create a new support system around you?
That was hard, actually. I met a lot of friends who were not really supportive. Initially, I thought that they were really supportive and really nice, but then in the end, I realized that they are not so nice and supportive as they look, but or they appear. So all these things, and yeah, and um, it was very weird, I would say. And then I struggled a lot, and then I found comfort in some other, like a very small group of friends from the university, um, yeah, who are now my kind of family.
Ah, that's so great. And one question that I feel comes always when you move, how did you make new friends? How did you meet people?
I was very active, like in all the events at the university. I was doing a lot of these voluntary work. So I came across all the women in STEM networks. So all these things, and these women in STEM network, they were holding a lot of events and stuff at the university. So I would go there and meet a lot of people. There would be a lot of meetups. So living in a big city like Munich really helped there. And I kind of miss that, but I'm also like, the rent is so high in Munich, it's skyrocketing. And so I don't know, there's a dilemma going on. But yeah, if I have to meet new people, if I have to like, expand my network, then I think living in a big city which offers these things is the way to go.
Nice. And how did you go with the language? So you mentioned, yeah, at the beginning they have mistakes. How's it going now? Did you learn more?
It's actually, I would say that it's still an ongoing process and I'm still learning. Um, yeah, I think my German friends, my native German friends, have supported me a lot in this process. So whenever I have to write an email in German, I would get them, read or proofread, and yeah, sometimes even make them write it because it's so complicated. But right now, I'm at this point. I spent like 2 dedicated years just learning German,
Nice.
so besides my work, um, and I am now at a level where I can hold somewhat okayish conversations, even though I am far from being perfect, grammatically perfect or correct. But still, I can hold like okay conversations, and I can call people, call the doctor for an appointment, or the hairdresser or something. So these things I can do somewhat. But when it comes to like very intense discussions, or sharing, or like yeah, so sharing intense emotions, then I do have a problem, or
Yeah.
I do have a struggle there. And I do have also a struggle understanding people, say, for example, if they speak with an accent or a dialect, which is very common in Germany, though. So I do have a problem there as well. But if you are speaking to me in Hochdeutsch, that's what they say, High Deutsch or High German,
Hmm.
then I think, and if you're not using too fancy, eloquent vocabulary, then probably I can understand most of it. But it wasn't
Nice.
easy.
Yeah.
It was not easy. Yeah. I mean, I have had instances when I was like, okay, I am spending my time with some Germans, native Germans around, and after half an hour of the meeting, usually, like if it's an interesting meeting or a conversation, I'm fine attending it if it's in English. But then at work, I'm at like a meeting in German for half an hour, and I get a headache because I spent so much time trying to understand the language and all these things, and it's yeah, but I was also the only German, like non-native German speaker, also female, in a group of around 200 people at my previous organization. And it was not easy at all. But at least now I can say that I tried, and I know how it is to be in that area, or like to work in a fully German team.
Yeah. And did you find that people were helpful and made it easier for you?
It's a mixture of both. So there were some super nice colleagues and super nice people who really understood that I am not from Germany, or like I'm making an attempt to learn their language. So they would slow down or use like simple vocabulary, and make my life easier. But then there were also some people who really didn't, or like lacked that empathy, I would say. So it was hard to understand them, or to like, yeah, communicate with them. But somehow, at that point, probably the nicer colleagues would step in, and then we would come to a some sort of understanding.
Nice. Yeah, that's the main point, right? Trying to understand each other.
Yes.
And well, you talked a bit about that already, but what are the challenges that you are still facing today?
The challenges, as in challenges in Germany, or challenges overall in life, or
Um, in regards to, yeah, moving to Germany and living there now and working.
I would say challenges. I mean, the language is definitely, as I said, an ongoing challenge,
Yeah.
ongoing process. Other than that, I would say it's Germany is quite generous when it comes to embracing the immigrants and stuff. So, like visa wise, I see a lot of my friends facing a lot of issues. But unfortunately, or fortunately, actually, that's not the case for me, since I already have got my permanent residency. So that's easier for me to, take up things here. So that way I am a bit privileged, I would say. And yeah, and all these things. But then challenges. I think then, besides understanding the nitty-gritties of the culture and the language, um, I think the other challenges are not too much, I would say, and they are possible. I mean, they are common. It's common to have these challenges, and if you're and life is not a bed of roses, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And was there anything on the contrary that was easier than you thought would have been?
Hmm, can't remember anything.
Anything was easy at all, or everything just hard?
Everything was very hard.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
is it better today?
It's definitely a lot better today because, as I said, that I have my own circle of very close friends and family who are always supporting me, and I have also something that I do that I like professionally. Yeah, so I think that way it's definitely better. Um, and hopefully, I'm a little less messed up than I was 6 years ago when I came here. But yeah, so
Nice.
definitely.
And why are you proud of yourself?
Why am I proud of myself? Because I think everyone says that you should be proud of yourself. I don't know. You're asking very difficult questions.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, because everyone says that you should be proud of yourself because that positivity is necessary for your growth and I do consider myself to have a very have a growth mindset, which means like as I said at the beginning, that if I have my eye on something, I literally want that thing. So and it's all a kind of series of quote unquote accomplishments, like okay, I have to attend this and then I have to accomplish that and that and that and so on. So I would say that you can't really do that if you don't love yourself, if you don't praise yourself for each of these little steps that you have accomplished.
Yeah, definitely. Do you take time to celebrate your achievements and what you've accomplished?
I think I should take more time to do that, but I like that's what a lot of people keep telling me, that I'm not doing that enough. I'm like, as soon as I quote unquote accomplish it, I move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And there's this like never ending set of goals that I have to that I have to achieve until whatever self set deadline. And yeah, but I think I should take more time to for self care and self pampering and self celebration of these achievements.
Definitely. I hope this can count a little bit, as a celebration because everything you said is really, really cool. Um, I think we're going to conclude on that. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned during our discussion and that you would like to mention?
No, I think we highlighted on all the things that I would have liked to mention here. So thanks again for having me here, and I'm really honored to be your guest. And I hope I could make this an interesting session for everyone.
I mean, it definitely was for me at least. I'm sure everyone will agree. Thank you so, so much again for coming here and for sharing a bit of your story, which, yeah, I definitely found incredibly interesting. And yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for this. And as usual in this podcast, the guest gets the very last word. So the mic is yours.
So thank you once again for all the lovely words and all the honor that I got while I was your guest here. So I would just like to end this on one note, saying that if you want to do something, do not give up until you have actually done it.